And we're live again.
Yay, we're back.
Welcome to Live from Model School's first of the year at the end of the year. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Getting started when getting's good, right?
Well, a lot has happened since we've seen you and you've seen us the last time. So if you are watching this live, or maybe you're watching it archived, I want to welcome you and introduce the panel here. I'm Leslie Accardo. I coordinate the Model Schools program here. And to my left and right are my colleagues who can introduce themselves as well.
I'm Alana Winnick.
May Isaac.
And we are the three voices of Model Schools Live, to be joined by a fourth in about 20 minutes or so. So we do have a back channel if you're watching this session live. If you're not watching it live, you won't be able to participate in the back channel. That's really only reserved for people that are joining us on the spot. The back channel is a Today's Meet. It's todaysmeet.com/live from MS. And we do see a couple of, I guess we'll call them.
Yep, I see Christina there so far, so we're going to give her a shout out.
That's great.
Because, you know, she's our first one here, and she always signs up. So I don't know, we might as well start a follower base. And
so when you make it to the back channel, feel free. It's a place for you to ask questions, make comments. The only thing you can't do, of course, is participate in the Hangout, because we reserve that for guests to kind of minimize on some of the chaos that happens. And
we got a great guest today, too.
We do.
I can't wait.
And I'm going to say, I'll say, she's a friend of mine too now, after working with her last year.
Before I came here, so right. I feel like I'm pulling rank to say I've known her the longest.
Well, you do. You probably have the deepest roots to her.
Yes.
Being from the district that she's from, which I'll describe in a few minutes. I wish someday we're going to post our outtakes, because whoever's watching, if you've ever done a Hangout on air live, it's like the Broadway curtain opens and all the last minute details fall into place. So maybe someday we'll do an outtake.
Yeah. And especially when we were talking about this yesterday, we got so excited about a topic that was coming for the show after this one, for the January show.
So let's plug a little bit. So we have January 27th, and we do have all of our Live from Model Schools on My Learning Plan currently.
Yes, but so the guest is not confirmed, so we should not say the name out loud.
Oh no, we're going to keep them hanging.
It is a very good surprise. The time listed on My Learning Plan might change only because the availability of this special guest. I'm not sure when their lunch or prep period might be, so you will get an email if you do sign up if the time is adjusted.
Great. So in the spirit of the season, we talk about family and community. A good segue into talking about today.
Yeah, that was very nice.
All of us really, over the past months, have been involved with different districts, different projects, and I think we've really seen Google act as an accelerant to a lot of the things that districts have been wanting to do for years that we've been trying to do in pockets. And I know that classroom is a big topic, folks, so I think we're going to save that for another time. There's a lot of voices in the region that have done a lot with Google Classroom, so hang tight, because we will get to that. But today, since we're doing a Hangout, and since our guest presenter, who we'll mention shortly, is going to talk to you about her own odyssey of using Google Communities. So we thought, between the three of us, let's warm the bed for her a little bit and talk a little bit about the Google Plus community, because I'll be perfectly honest with you, some people that I work with think that it's a hot mess, and it's a little bit hard to get used to. And I have to be honest, it's my community of choice. I don't have a Facebook page. I do the Facebook fan page for Model Schools, but this is the community that I found myself invested in for all things Google, and also for having some conversations with people in professional development and personal settings.
Yeah, no, I can jump right in on that, because I feel that people are very passionate one way or another about Google Communities. There's no middle ground. There's no it's okay. It's more like, oh, I love it, it's doing exactly what I want, or I hate it, it's trying to be Facebook and it's not.
Right.
But I have to say, I am definitely warming to using Community, because I feel like it almost filters out so much of that junk you come across on Facebook, because you know we all have them, the people that post the quizzes that you know, what animal, who's your spirit animal, and every rescue story of a puppy or kitten, and I don't want to
those
sound
things
like the Grinch.
No, they're
but
good in moderation, but
there
when you're really getting a feel for the flavor of each community, I think
Right.
the Google Plus communities that I've run into, and maybe you, have absolutely a different tenor to them, especially with educators around this
They're
region.
very focused.
Right.
I found, and I'm going to be honest in that respect too, that before we settled on this topic, I had never set up or really explored the Google communities. I was part of one, but sort of as my prep for this, I created a Lyric Model Schools community.
Right before we went live, which goes to show.
It's quick, it's easy to set up, and if you're interested, if you're watching this broadcast, you can request to join it. We are on Google Plus Communities, and we'll put like some goodies and some conversation in that area, but it is private, so you do have to request a link, so we may change that or not, but I was able to set that up in less than 10 minutes.
Right.
And we have our own shared space. I know you're using it, you said, with a lot of your...
Deeply with the cohort work that we're doing. So I'm actually going to, like I said, to warm the bed before our presenter comes in. So I'll just let you know that we are going to be joined by Jody Berger, who is a high school art, I'm going to say art teacher, but I know that she has a couple of different sections. And when I worked with Jody, I worked with her advanced drawing and design class.
Yeah, she teaches AP.
And I don't want to steal her thunder, but I remember when I first met her, that she had this burning desire to start and launch a community, and we were with her students. And we were thinking about maybe doing Facebook first, but the stars aligned, and we ended up with a Google Plus community, and she's really going to talk about her experience and I think show us a little bit of that. And that community happens to be some of the most active postings that I've seen. So I guess you want to call that a success story, somebody that just had an idea and a plan, and it came to fruition, and she's going to tell us all about that in about 10 minutes. Before that time, I want to show you from a regional service standpoint how I've been actually using Google Communities to keep in touch with some of the job-embedded PD that we've been doing.
Right.
So I'm going to just splash a few things up on the screen here for you. Now, the communities that I'm going to show you in Google Plus are technically closed and private. And the reason they're closed and private, I'm going to show you some open communities that I belong to as well. But the reason being is that when I invite people to it, it's always good to establish the rules ahead of time so that people can make the decision what I'm sharing, to what extent, and really what the nature of it is going to be. So I'm going to switch over and grab this laptop.
Okay.
And I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of communities just to give a sense of the architecture and some of the activity that's on it right now.
Yeah, I think it's a nice connection, especially if you're not embedded in that district, you're doing a lot of work with them. It's a nice way to have that conversation, and it's not just like an email-based conversation. It's sort of like a private room that everyone can meet in and discuss and share what's going on. And I think as educators, our time is so limited that it needs to be this, asynchronous. It needs to be, when can you meet up there, when,
right,
and have that.
It really does cheat time and space, but what I found is right now the screen that is broadcasting is, and part of the hairball of all of this is understanding that when you're invited to a community and you may not have a Google Plus account, you have to get an idea of the scope of what that Plus account means. So it means that it's a necessary step in order to belong to a Plus community, but you also have a whole other world of circles to explore, and that's some of the terminology I think that confuses people.
Yeah.
What is Google calling connections and friends? So right now, I'm just going to focus on communities I've created and just give you a sense about how active they are and what they're used for. So I will pull up a community that had some really great activity in it, and without naming names, it's basically a community of 8 elementary teachers that I had the privilege of working with for a series of 3 or 4 months. They were really looking at using iPads in the classroom. So we settled on this Google Plus community as a way not only to, everyone talks about sharing resources, and I think that's great, But what this community became was a point of connection between us, focused on the work that we were doing.
Yeah, and that's sometimes what you can lose in other social media because it becomes a catch-all for everything. And I think that's what I was trying to say
Trusted
before. I
filter.
wasn't, I wasn't knocking people sharing things of their personal life, but this gives you a way to have a single focus, like it gives you a lens which to look at things that you just need to look at, and it sort of filters out everything else.
And part of this is somewhat utilitarian, but I'll just showcase one of the ways that I use the community. So working with teachers over the span over a few months, you get to see them in many different lights. You get to work with them in the class, get to know the students a little bit, get a sense of what the technology is, and there's so many conversations that need to happen at the moment that can't. So I use this community to basically keep a record, and you'll see that there's a couple of posts here now. What I'll do is just maybe pull one up so that it looks a little bit bigger for you on the screen, although I'm not going to start it. This was a place where I used a very simple screen casting tool to record myself doing video debriefs. And you see on the screen there that I have a shared Google Doc up. And, so what this community really became was less of this ephemeral sense of who's in it. It became personal, like responding to an email or a voicemail or a phone call. And I think from my perspective, I was able to harness this just as another meeting place. But as you can see, you look at a community and you figure out ownership. And you can really get a sense of everyone having a stake in it, everyone feeling comfortable posting and commenting. And I tell you where this community really got its legs, its momentum around Halloween. When some of the most creative teachers I've ever met actually posted pictures of themselves because for their Halloween celebration, they all dressed up as a different mobile app.
Oh,
and
that's
I
terrific.
can pinpoint the time at which that community basically opened up and exploded, and it was almost a very welcome invitation for people to know that they have ownership and they can participate. So you can see, I'll go back to my community screen here for a minute. I have separate ones for each individual district and project that I'm working with, but I'm also selfish. I need to be fed as well as to feed, so I've joined communities as well, and I'll tell you personally, I spend about an hour or two each night just going through and window shopping, and it's so easy to reshare from one community to another that a lot of things that I post for conversation points come from things that have been curated from other communities.
That's really nice because that sort of helps you invite other people to the community. It helps you bridge that. I mean, because perhaps you have a teacher that's really interested in, like you said, iPads in the classroom or a specific app that they're looking at, and you have a community about that. You can share that out to them very quickly and target them. So
now, May, you had mentioned that you did something very quickly in the moment, and we're waiting for Jody to come in probably in about 5 minutes or so. So do you want to talk or show a little bit about what you've done just in the time that you've sat here?
Yeah, no,
in terms of creating an event page and broadcasting this hangout?
Do you mind if I just broadcast it from here? I just set up this quick communities page, and I think we probably could do it from Leslie because I invited Leslie into community. Okay. That's okay. Yeah, Alana is our
engineer, the chief engineer and air traffic controller. We all agree to sit at the same table. That's okay.
All right. Well, anyway, it's going to come up, and I just created this community really quick as an example, so I'd have something to sort of talk about here. And this is actually our Google Plus community live for model schools. All right. Yes, I'm getting notified about posts. That's lovely. I put this up here, and I created a little event to talk about our Google Hangout. Of course, it really doesn't help since there's only 2 or 3 of us in the thing now, but the idea was just to create it to show you an example of what it would look like.
And it's an easy way to drive people to a Google Hangout, I find. Sometimes people aren't clear. How do I join? What's the link? If you can drive them to a community and they're a little bit late, they can basically join right from that event.
Right. And then I can go here, are my being a part of this? Yes, no. I put our back channel information on here, and if we have any information or articles or things like that, this would be a perfect place to join it. And it's also, if you join our community, you can have a say in maybe topics you want to see on upcoming broadcasts. If you have something you're interested in, like I know last year we had a guest presenter who talked about flipping the classroom, and I feel like that has become the buzzword, I think.
Are
really.
you talking about Seth?
Yes, we are talking about. Another shout out. Another shout
Leslie.
out, Seth.
I had lunch with Seth this week. He was in the building, and we had lunch together, and I caught up. And
so the beautiful thing about these hangouts is that this is where stars are born.
Yes.
And I don't mean stars in the sense of
screen sharing,
Hollywood
so
stars.
Could see our
okay.
faces.
I mean the sense of, talk about a sense of community. So we met, again, if you've seen this, we met Seth during a class. And actually, we meet a lot of neat people that we now keep in contact with, that we use this as the forum. So maybe that community is a good place for people that aren't watching live or that really don't know what this is, or you're thinking about, how could I do a Google Hangout on air with students? Maybe it's a way of rethinking doing things like Poetry Slam, or broadening the audience that students are exposed to, which is another thing that I'm working on with another district. So this will be a great
And in addition to that, maybe you have a hangout that's your guest presenter. I know some schools have done things as, Skype with somebody from, say, a museum, or in a, I know that there was a science research class that did something with people from pharmaceutical companies. You can still do that Google Hangout, and that way you have the screen sharing, you have the recording option if you want to archive it and let your students go back and watch it. I think the Google Hangout really has so much potential, and if you're interested, definitely try to join our community, and it's going to be a place to sort of stay in touch with us in between the broadcasts. And
I'll say the one thing that I hope changes, and we've had discussions about this in different districts, is that there is a restriction, there is an age restriction on a Google Plus community. It continues to be 13, whether you're a Google Apps for Education district or not. So I push this out to you as an audience. If anyone has leverage and wants to do or develop Google Plus Junior, which I think I've heard rumors from the grapevine that they're looking at YouTube in a slightly different way.
Yeah, apparently the rumor on the street is that Google is working on revamping YouTube. I think, this is what my thought is, it's going to have something to do with keeping it safer within a domain.
Right.
That is what I'm thinking they're doing. That's not confirmed, but that's what makes the most sense to me, because YouTube is blocked in a lot of schools, and it's prohibiting people from doing Google Hangouts and Google Hangouts on air. But if it was locked down within a domain and it was a little bit safer, I think that would be very helpful. So I hope that that's what they're working on.
It's you know what? It's a logical, and you've heard the rumor here first. The rumor mill.
Now we're the rumor mill too.
Google Plus Junior. I think if anyone from Google is listening right now, I think conceptually, I wouldn't be surprised, especially with Google Classroom, because I know we're not talking about that now. We've got other broadcasts.
Right.
Doesn't have the same look and feel. I know that there's teachers that really want that social presence and the alerts and just the
guest next month in January, unconfirmed, but he's very excited about it. So I'm pretty sure
we've reached out to him, right?
Yes. Yeah. I just haven't heard back yet, but he's very excited about it. He uses both Classroom and Communities, and uses them in much, much different ways. So when he does guest, he'll be able to show you both of them and how he uses them in completely different ways.
I'd like to hear how
they
uses,
they are totally
why
different.
He uses why he uses Communities for one and for Classroom,
They're totally different tools.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was like a community room?
There's elements or overlap of both.
Yeah.
But this still remains, and again, I go back to just some terminology. People look at Google Plus and they feel like it's a hot mess to start out with. And the concept of understanding circles and what it means to share and be connected, starting out with a small community is a way of controlling the experiment to see if the look and feel is really viable. And, you've got a little bit of that Pinterest-esque, the way panels show up and the visual nature.
Yeah. Well, you can change that too. You can change. It's customizable, right? The way your community.
There is the one section where all the posts show up. What I really like about Google Communities is you could have sub-pages and you can have posts live within certain pages related to specific topics, and then there's one page with all posts. I actually have a Google community for one of my model schools core classes I teach for, it's my Google Site class, and Christina, who just was in our back channel but had to go back to teaching, so she gets a little shout out.
Again, thanks for
She's
coming
in
again.
my Google Plus community, and what we're finding is not that big yet, but people that do have Google Sites, it's a place for them to post a question to other people in the region that also have Google Sites. And Christina had a problem. She had made, I think it was a Voki. She made a Voki, and she wanted to embed her Voki onto her Google site. And she copied the embed code from her Voki and tried to put it in her Google site, and it just wasn't working. So I found a solution, and I posted it on the community, and then it actually helped someone else who wanted to do something else, the similar thing, and couldn't do it. So it's a community for everyone that's involved in that same type of
discussion.
Yeah, the more
they
focused it is,
the
because we all know what it's like to send that email kind of hoping and praying that somebody's going to read it and respond. And as people are learning new things, I try to drive traffic to communities so that, feel free asking questions, because
or answering
anyone has
someone
the chance.
else's.
Exactly.
Because Christina knows a lot about Google Sites too. So if you posted a question, maybe even Christina will respond before I saw it.
Yeah.
So
and it's nice. It's nice to be able to go through and search the previous
and get ideas.
Yeah. And then that's what I like about the old school even forums on things. Remember going on to the user groups to look up things.
Absolutely.
Back in the early days of the internet, as I date myself.
Some of those forums still exist, but it brings out the inner
Rec Food
benefactor.
Cooking. I still remember
The
my
inner
coworker.
benefactor and everybody.
Love that site. But
so if anything, I hope this has inspired you to think about Plus a little bit differently. So again, some of the prerequisites is if you have a Google account, you don't necessarily have a Google Plus account.
Yeah, you need to,
and basically in the districts that I work with that are using Google Apps for Education, it is something that needs to be enabled by domain. So
right, the administrator.
Exactly. So if you're in a district that needs to flip the switch, there's a particular and it can be done by organizational unit. So it's not the case that you have to flip the switch, and for everybody, we're just kind of kicking the tires with the faculty and administrators first.
You can turn it on for faculty and not for students.
Correct. So, kids at the high school, that may be something that we want to, kind of grow and develop into. So that has to be enabled in the back end. You do need a Google Plus account, but once you federate into all the Google ecosystem, you basically have access to everything.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to create separate identities.
Our guest is ready, so I'm going to invite her in.
I'm so
excellent.
excited. She's going to be overwhelmed by the joy, sheer joy.
By everybody waiting for her. Hooray!
So again, this is Jody Berger, Croton Harmon. May has ties to her and that district.
Yes, I can fully. Isn't that like a disclaimer or something you have to give
and this
when
is
you
her
write
first,
an article? Yes.
This is her first live Google Hangout on air. Her first live Google Hangout on air. We had a Google Hangout Monday, but it was not a live Hangout on air.
So she's actually joining us within the Hangout itself. So if you're watching this and you're kind of trying to figure out Hangouts as well, right now the only participants in this Hangout are really, it's just one account that's logged in, which happens to be mine, and we're sitting together in the same room. But the good news is now, do you know that the number has increased? For Google Apps for Education, you can have up to 15 people in one Hangout.
Yeah,
only
as opposed to 10.
As opposed to 10.
Yeah.
So it's Google Hangout for...
Have you ever done the Hangout with 10?
I've had about 8.
Is it hard at that point?
It depends on the device.
Turns?
Depends on the device that people are using. So in the moments that Jody's coming in, I'll editorialize a little bit. If folks are thinking about trying this just as a test or connecting classroom to class, I find the best experience tends to still be a Chromebook or a laptop or a desktop. People participating from their phones lose a lot in the experience. And
especially with the smaller screen.
The smaller screen and the...
Jody, are you there?
I hear
there
you're
she
rustling.
is. Hi, Jody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Here I see you. Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am so glad to see you again. Do you know who's here in the room?
I know May and I know Alana, and of course I know you, Leslie.
Oh, it's so nice to see you.
Good.
We talked all about you before you came on board, so you have big shoes to fill, which are your own shoes.
Oh, good. Okay. Size 9.5.
So, Jody, in the interest of time, I basically just talked a little bit about how I know you from this experience as someone that's always wanted to kind of get an online presence or an online community going. Specifically, you know, when I met you, it was with your advanced drawing and painting class.
Right.
And you actually saw that come to fruition last year.
I did. We started a year ago. Now those students are currently my my advanced placement studio art classes. They're 12th graders. So we've been doing this for about a year now. So what you're going to see is a full year of experience and full use in our classroom. And it doesn't replace what we do. It's just really been a wonderful enhancement to critiques and sharing and community, creating a community in our classroom.
And Jody, just for filling in some of the backstory, initially when we met, I think we were talking about deciding on a platform, whether it would be Facebook or Edmodo, and I think we decided to land on Google+, and at first it wasn't fully embraced like it probably is now. So when people look at this, they might be overwhelmed at the depth of sharing, but can you talk a little bit about what it was like kind of lighting the fire and getting this going?
Yeah, I mean, the go-to at the time was Facebook for the students. A number of them, actually one or two, had started in my class, had started their own private Facebook accounts for the class, like they would share amongst themselves. But what I felt, it just wasn't safe. It wasn't school sanctioned, obviously, and it wasn't inclusive at all. I mean, you know, some of them, they just wanted to do it because they wanted feedback from each other, but they were doing it only with, you know, their friends, and they're just a handful of the students. So when going to Google Plus and presenting Google Plus, it was kind of a neutral ground, because a lot of them, although they had Gmail accounts, they did not have, they really weren't on Google Plus.
Right.
And now, you know, Instagram is really big, and a lot of them have Instagram accounts. So this is kind of it was a neutral ground. It wasn't cool, which was totally fine by me. It was like, you know, they just said, oh, okay, that's like the geek, yeah, the geek format, the geek platform, and I was like, I'm all for it. That sounds great. So it was very much we all got into it together.
Yeah.
You know, many of them, I think, maybe one or two had actual Google Plus accounts. They were already enrolled, but most of them we had to get them enrolled.
Well, why don't you go ahead and take us on a tour, and as we have questions, of course, we'll pop in, but tell us, you know, what we're looking at and what some of this is meant for you and for them. And
all right, so I'm going to switch over to...
I'll let you know when your screen is shared.
Great. Okay. I think it's...
Is that Deba I see in the background?
Yes, I'm here in the back.
Hi, Deba.
Hi, Deba.
Hi, Deba.
Oh, and I
live.
recognize that art room, too.
Yeah.
Great. Technology works okay.
Okay,
Okay.
the screen is sharing.
That's great.
You're
Thank
on.
you, Jody.
All right. Let me see. Am I there? I'm not... Oh, then I have to switch my screen. Okay, cool. We're good.
Good.
Excellent. Okay. So this is right here. We are currently CHHS AP Studio Art is right here, and I'm just going to scroll down. So here are what I love about this is I'm just going to scroll down just so you guys can see it. The feed is quite
Look at some of that.
Yeah.
And right now I have 21 members, but there's 20.
And this is a private community for just your students?
Absolutely, and that's really why we chose it. It is totally closed. It is private. I had to invite them.
Yes.
They had to accept me.
Yep.
We actually had to go through our circle of friends. We had to friend each other, basically, put on each other's circles. You know, I definitely recommend taking a day, taking the students into the computer lab and doing it as a group rather than saying, okay, guys, you know, do it on your own.
Yeah.
The pictures are beautiful.
Oh,
Your
wow.
artwork is amazing.
So, you know, we're really, you know, this is new. It's been a year. They've all started with me last year. And we really use it as an external way for them to get feedback and share. But there's so many other way that I
The
use it.
feedback is from each other, Jody, or from you?
Really, it's both. In the very beginning, I really had to have more of a presence. I had to kind of put, like, there's me, but you'll see I'm not in it a lot. So there's a lot of times they will on their own, they will comment. What I love about Google Plus is that they have it on their phones. We all have the app, so we turn notifications on, and we all get notifications as soon as somebody posts. So sometimes it's handed by me in terms of assignments. Oh, there's my gingerbread, my ninja bread man, and I posted it.
Ninja bread.
Ninja bread right there. And in the very beginning, we definitely set parameters in terms of expectations. Obviously, what's appropriate, what's not, and it's mostly obviously for class and art related. But it doesn't happen. I mean, a lot of them will post articles and just I was in the city and I saw this great exhibit, or I saw this that reminded me of a project I'm doing or somebody else, which I really love.
Well, it sounds like your community is pretty focused too. They're not like, posting about, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. It seems like by having this community, it sort of keeps the conversation focused, even if it's, not exactly about their artwork. It's still art focused.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to gear it towards the kids in the class, but they are so they're using it in a wonderful way. And what's really nice is I actually have two communities. One is the class that they were last year, my new advanced drawing and painting class. And because I have two, I'm not in either one as much as I was last year in the one, and I have less of a presence. And that's a great thing because it's really, they are doing all the work, a lot of it, and they are, I'm guiding it for sure, and I'm giving assignments and setting expectations. But but they really are on their own. My other class, my juniors, they're posting, have you seen this great site? This is my favorite stop motion artist. Did you check this out? Where these guys are more assignment based, but the other one is really wonderful to see that the more natural flow.
And I remember, Jody, when we were first talking and conceiving this, the idea of a community is great, and then you have to start wondering, well, what happens? Why give people, you need to give people a purpose and a space to get together. But you had mentioned something very interesting that I never forgot, this concept of medial art critiquing, of critiquing art in progress. So there's a lot of great examples of finished work, but I think, and is that still basically the flavor of the community, or do you see examples of works in progress that are, we wanted to encourage students to kind of memorialize their iteration of some of these deeper works that they're working on? Is that still the flavor or the theme?
I think so. I think a lot of it is all about the progress. I mean, this is a great example right here. This is one of our latest projects called the Scribble Project, and they have to do something called a visual research spread, where they are showing me and everyone else the thought that goes into a project. So they're doing, right here, they're doing 3 thumbnails, and they're finding other artists who've done this style, and then they're doing a mock, which is right here, right, and presenting it to each other. So, and they're getting, hopefully they're getting feedback on their idea, which really the big push behind this was to save class time, because they have home projects. So much of what they do is at home and alone, basically. That we had so much class time was devoted to critiques, and we had so many projects to critique that we were losing actual art production time. So, and I guess in a way it's a quasi-flipped classroom, where they're really kind of trying to bring the critique from the home, into here, or like a halfway critique, a medial critique, as you're saying before. So we definitely still use it for that. It's also, I have to say, one of my favorite things that I use it for is assessment. And how I love it is I go under here, when I go under members, and I can see all the members here, my students, and I'll go under, let's take Julia, for example, and I'll go under Julia, and I can say, okay, well, what's Julia done recently? What have we got here? Here we go. So this is just Julia's posts, which is
nice.
That's great.
Love it. So
But
if you want to
that
see,
posts not just specifically to your community, it's all of her posts to all her communities and her feed, right?
No, this is just her feed to
Just
my
her
community.
You can tell by the posts up there that she
Yes.
probably knows just to post to that community.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
because it says where she's posting. It could be somewhere else.
Right.
She's just not posting anywhere.
Yeah,
But the point is, you
Yeah.
can drill down and you can actually
Yeah.
focus
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
the work of one student.
right. And I think once in a while I'll see all their comments. I haven't figured out how to actually view their comments on other people's posts, but I think there's a way to do it. I just haven't gotten there yet. But obviously, we've got they're doing their own websites, so there's a link to their own website. So if and I'm grading them on that. So rather than in the past they would email me their addresses, now they're posting and everyone else can see it.
Are those all on Google Sites? Are they doing it? Or are they doing other
They're
places?
actually doing it through Portfolio Box for this one. I'm not quite there yet.
Okay.
Not really Google Sites, but it's an art specific
Yeah.
portfolio based site.
And Jody, have you found, just kind of lurking around and watching the students, have you found that your use or impression of Google Plus is basically just framed by that community, or how have you been using it kind of as looking for other outposts of ideas for art education?
I'm seeing bits and pieces. I joined Google Communities in Education, and I'm seeing some amazing collaboration between educators. Like somebody will just say, "Hey, I'm looking for, I'm doing printmaking in this style. Anybody else doing it? Do you want to hang out?" I've seen people like calling out to each other in different. So I've kind of just dipped my toe in that water a little bit. But I would be totally into doing more of it. So I'm still kind of, juggling the responsibility of two sites, and it is extra time for sure. It adds to my responsibility, my plate. But it's so worth it. It's so amazingly worth it to get all these kids together. So I think there's so many possibilities to do it. We have not done a hangout like we're doing now, so I would love to do it. Especially, I think it'd be really cool to do it during the summer. These kids have a huge amount of summer work to prepare them for the AP portfolio.
Sure.
And so they're doing like 3 or 4 projects over the summer. So maybe even like right before school starts, we could do a hangout and say, anybody want to show me what you have and want feedback face to face from other kids. It certainly alleviates a lot of the pressure for like gathering the projects. We have to have another crit that takes a lot of time. And again, I have to say, it does not replace the critique face-to-face, because that really is important. I don't use it, but it just supplements it in a beautiful way, for sure.
Well, I think it's like either a conversation starter or just a platform of, I tend to think that, the shelf life of this stuff is extended because there's more of a commitment to things that develop and progress over time.
Yeah, and there's more of an extension of your class. Like you were saying, that class time is limited, it is valuable. This sort of gives you an extension of it, and it sounds like they're really into being in this community and having that conversation and just enjoying the experience of being with that community.
Yeah, and I think it takes it brings everything up a level, a little bit of a notch, when you have to display your artwork for all to see on a certain level. There's something to be said about like taking your book out and showing it and then putting it away, whereas this, is on the site, it's on the feed. So I think that it's raised the bar, the quality bar of work and expectation a little bit higher for the class, and they're rising to it for sure. I think they're doing a really great job. And I have to say also, for convenience sake, I know if other art teachers see this, they'll understand what collecting books.
Oh yeah.
Dragging books home, and they're huge, and dragging them home and having to grade them, whether it's daily, weekly, whatever you do, is huge. And so I still do it, and I do it, but I only do it once or twice a quarter instead of weekly. It's made a huge difference. I use this for my assessment. I said, do you have all the criteria that I'm looking for, and that's it. So that's made a big difference too. It's really changed.
So Jody, we have just a few questions in our back channel. Should be relatively easy for you to answer. By looking at it, it's very obvious that the kids are motivated. And someone wants to know, was this organic growth or basically assignment-based? How did you get students to be so motivated to participate?
I think it's a combination of the two. This grew out organically, like I said at the very beginning, because they were doing it themselves on Facebook. And I said, I wanted something where it was more inclusive. Once we got there and it was all established, it's kind of like, deer in the headlights, what do we do with this now? So it was heavy-handed in the beginning. It was assignment-based. I had to kind of set down, okay, I'm looking for, everyone needs to post by Tuesday night, 8 p.m., and then you're responsible for 3 comments to 3 people. Sometimes I even pair them up, who their partners are. But at this point, I do that with my first year class.
Jody, could you just show your face?
Yeah.
I feel like it's,
oh, yeah, sorry, yep.
Yeah, it's easier to have a conversation when we can see you.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get it back.
Press stop sharing.
Okay, let's see. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. And let's see you guys. There we go. Okay. You good? Okay, that makes better. Sorry.
It's okay. So you were saying now with your new class.
The younger students, you have to sort of go through that process, but your AP class, is this their second year of using the community?
Exactly. This is their second class year of using it, and so they're a little bit more seasoned with it. They know what to expect. I still have to set guidelines and remind them I need you to post, but they're kind of just they're doing it themselves, and they're kind of commenting themselves. There's definitely ebbs and flows for sure. I mean, somebody won't not post. We might not get a post for days sometimes because they're just working on stuff offline, and they're just doing it, and then they'll know to post eventually, and you'll see you'll get 27 notifications that they're into it, and they're on their own. A lot of it will happen at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And then
I can attest to that because I actually had, when we first built this, I was in the community as well, and I was getting notifications, and I found Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, they were big, and then you'd see the same names come up, and my phone would basically blow up off the counter, and I thought, I'm not this popular in real life, but now that I'm in here in this community.
With the high schooler.
It just, you know what, it just goes to show
and they get that second win, too.
Well, that's where they are.
The kids are, getting their work done at that time of night, too.
It's clearly, I think that probably those students in that AP class are very passionate about that. So I feel like those students are probably much more active than a class that they're forced to maybe be in.
To take, yeah.
Right. Jody, I have another question for you. Your colleagues, have they been kind of seeing this? Has anyone approached you with interest and say, you know what, this is what I want for my discipline, for my kids as well? Have you seen any of that kind of interest or growth from among your...
The health teacher, Carrie Tracy, is literally my next door neighbor down the hall, and we were just talking about it, and she was looking for a platform to get her kids to do small group discussions. So she has completely integrated it into every single one of her classes. She has, I believe she has 5 communities running right now with set expectations, with weekly assignments, and they're posting, they're using it like a blog/journal entry for her psychology classes and I believe her health classes as well. And then last week or 2 weeks ago at Croton, we had a tech expo here where it's kind of teachers teaching teachers how to use technology in the classroom. And so from that, I did my own Google Plus community-based presentation twice, and got a lot of interest that way. People, we try to have some kind of discussion about outside of art, how could you use this and where would it be applicable? And so a lot of teachers were, especially a lot of the foreign language teachers thought it could be great to get on an advanced level to get the kids conversing in foreign language and having conversations there. Even in history, using document-based posts and having kids, post their interests for certain events in history. We just a little, touched the tip of the iceberg with that. But yeah, it's in terms of sharing, it's been really interesting. I think it's going to start to grow, and especially because there's so many things out there that at this point in terms of getting kids to communicate. There's a lot. I think we need to streamline. And to my personal opinion, and a lot of schools are going Google in Education, and this at least, with you have a lot of kids doing Edmodo. It can be very overwhelming when you have, 5 teachers in 5 different platforms expecting you to go to 5 different sites. So that, I think, can be a drawback, and I think needs to be addressed at some point, at some level, because it can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming to me to have 2 sites in Google+. So I can imagine from a student's point of view to have so many different sites. So
but what's nice is that you've given yourself permission to be present in the way that you want to be present. So it's almost like, the grand watchmaker that sets all the pieces in motion and basically infuses it with the initial energy and expectation. And then your oversight is a much different level of management than feeling that you have to prime the pump all the time.
Right.
But I think what we're also striving for in education now is we're empowering our students, and it sounds like, you're setting the ground rules and you're helping them grow to that next level in a safe space where, they can get that experience, but also, have support when they need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's been a great journey. I think, in terms of ground rules, it's really important. I mean, there are, like I said, there's ebbs and flows. There's definitely some drawbacks, and I definitely have to sometimes police it in terms of appropriateness in just in imagery sometimes, where it just, I'm not into censorship in art. And Croton's a fairly liberal community, but once in a while there'd be something where, like, it's still school, you guys. It's still, a school-based program, so I'll have to take things off, and that happens. So I always just let it go. And also, like, there's definitely challenges with I have to push in terms of sometimes quality. Like, a lot of times you'll get students who comment, and cool, like, oh, this is so cool, you're the bomb, like, and so they're being cutesy about it, and sometimes the depth isn't there that I would love to see. But like I said, it's better than the alternative. At least they're getting out there. At least they're presenting their work. It's there for each other. And then the kids who really do take it seriously are always there, and they really do bring it to a lovely, thoughtful level of commenting.
So I want to congratulate you for 2 things. First of all, if this is your first live hangout on air, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
You're doing a phenomenal job.
And maybe so hopefully, this has inspired you to maybe think about this as an alternate step or a way of getting, there's that community keeps everybody connected over space and time, but there might be a way for you to incorporate hangouts for that live feedback where you're not relying so much on the "you're the bomb" comment, but, okay, tell me more about this. What about the strokes and the art that you see? And actually, do you put any of your own artwork up there? Because I've seen samples of what you do.
Yeah, I have in the beginning. I did, because I wanted it. I wanted to get it going basically, and I wanted to show them the possibilities. But like I said, I try to take a step back, and I make it more about them. Once in a while, I'll put my own stuff in, or my own comments, or my own photos that I've taken. But not too much. I don't do personally. I don't have that time to do fresh stuff, so a lot of it was older stuff. But I think it's great. I mean, if I did more artwork on my own, then I would definitely present it. So I think it's a great format to show them that you as a teacher are active and engaged too. So.
Well, congratulations! You're officially viral.
Yes.
I
in a good way.
Jody, I'll send you the link as soon as we're done to the archive session, so you have it forever.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
But I want to thank you so much, and actually everyone that participated live or is watching from the archive is just as valuable because, again, never mind time and space or in the moment, we're always connected. We always love talking about our stories and sharing your stories. So we'll end the broadcast now.
No, we're not ending it.
We're not?
Nope.
You have a surprise?
I do.
Oh, boy.
Okay, Jody, you could stay on for it. It's going to be very funny.
Okay.
So we have an ongoing tradition, Leslie started.
Uh-oh.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, we don't remember our traditions.
So Leslie publicly acknowledged my birthday last year. So this year I'm going to publicly acknowledge Leslie's birthday on our live from Model Schools Hangout on Air.
The chicken. come home
Yep.
to roost.
Yes.
Jody, last year, on my birthday, she did a flash mob in the cafeteria, and all the superintendents in the whole area were there. So
It
this,
was great timing.
yeah, it was perfect timing. My face turned bright red. It was very interesting. So now this year, Leslie, I have a video for you that I'm going to share. So here we go.
I had no part in this, too, by the way. I'm
But
releasing myself from this.
I'm going to give a little shout out. I discussed it with Carla first, so she knows about it and she's watching. So let me get it up.
Nothing like this.
Wait, is today the day? Is it today?
No,
No.
It was on a
wasn't.
weekend.
The
so
undying
she-
support of colleagues.
Oh no, I need to hold on.
Hold on, you can't look, but the whole internet can watch us.
No, you can't see my screen yet.
So Jody, this is the beauty of a Google Hangout.
Is it? Yeah.
It is. The
So you
beauty
don't
of
even have to be in the room
where
to.
things just happen live on the fly, even though it's being archived and streamed. And I will let you know, Jody, that this basically is live in the sense that it's being streamed.
Right.
Although we can pretty much guarantee that we don't have a global audience. We usually just provide the link to people so that if they want to watch, and looks like we're ready to go here.
Okay,
Right?
I'm going to share my screen, and this is a special video just
Is it a
for
tribute to Leslie?
Well, it's cute. Carla said it was cute, so I could share it.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute. Do you see it?
No. I saw it for a second.
You know what? It speaks for itself. Thank you. Jody, everyone must be, I don't know who's around there, but everyone must be kind of looking
Wondering
around
what's
with great
happening in the art
anticipation.
room.
Yeah.
But I do want to say before we go, I just really want to thank a couple of people. I know Deb August here at Croton is our technology administrator, and just has been really wonderful and very supportive. And
applause to Deborah, certainly.
yeah, and just the one who kind of brought all this together on my end and the Croton end, and to just like made this happen through the connecting me to Lyric Model Schools, and I've just been really great, and she's been super supportive. So I'm giving a shout out to Deba. Woohoo. And Leslie, thank you so much, because you were part of the cohort last year that kind of started this. And I said I would do it every year if I could. Honestly, I'm a big supporter of it.
All right.
All right. Well, our thanks,
So there you go.
thanks to you. You were just wonderful to have. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And please thank your students for us as well, because it'd be great to show them how much we appreciate their talent and their work.
You could share the link in your community so they can watch.
Right.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah. That's totally cool. So you'll email me the link? Is that
Yeah.
Will do.
it? Okay.
All right. Let's officially call
Now-
this the
now we
end of
can
the
end it.
broadcast.
Now we
Thank
can
you.
end.
We appreciate you as always, and we will see you next time in January.
Next year.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks.
All right.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.